Hi, thank you for checking out my channel. Today, I'd like to highlight and share some of the benefits of VA jumbo financing when you're purchasing your home. Prior to 2020, many veterans, when they were looking at buying a high value home, a luxury home, had to come in with 10, 15% down or more, which really, in and of itself, when we compare that to the jumbo world, jumbo financing world, that's pretty good. A lot of jumbo lenders require 20% or more. In addition, the jumbo lenders often require higher credit scores, more reserve requirements, and that's the beauty of a VA loan. They don't require perfect credit or a certain amount of reserves, but it is nice for your jumbo veterans, that are looking to get into that high value home arena to have some options. Meaning that they could potentially do 100% financing like many other veterans. So maybe they can then keep their, funds liquid, working for them, where they can really afford the home. Otherwise, debt to income ratio wise, there's also a residual income test on a VA loan that needs to pass. So there's a lot of benefits in regards to VA's not going to just let anybody buy a home, but if you have a veteran that can afford a $1.5 million home and do that 100% financing, it's nice for them to have that option if they saw fit. Okay. Now, prior to 2020, there was not necessarily that 100% financing option. You had to, again, come in with 10, 15% down. But after 2020, there was actually in 2019, there was an act passed, which was the Blue Water Navy Vietnam Act that was passed. And now, regardless of the purchase price of the home, a veteran, if they qualify otherwise, can actually purchase a home at 100% financing. And that's very, very powerful. One of the main reasons it is powerful is that sometimes a veteran may not have the best credit scores or may not have the reserve requirements, where in the jumbo arena, they're often looking for the cream of the crop. They're looking for 700, 720, 740 credit scores, 20, 25% down, 12, 24 months reserves. Well, on a VA loan, that's not required, and veterans can then purchase into that arena, maybe not where they're qualified for that jumbo financing. VA loans in and of themselves are one of my favorite loans, and the reason is, and I'll go back, I mentioned some of it, 100% financing. Veteran doesn't have to have the best credit scores. A lot of lenders will go down to a 580 credit score, even though VA says there are no credit score requirements. We as a lender, we can sometimes go below 580. It would depend on the actual credit itself, okay, that the veteran is experiencing. Another advantage is that the VA loans don't have mortgage insurance. Many loans, when you're putting less than 20% down, have mortgage insurance. And if VA had that and you're buying in the million plus range, that could be, $500 to an additional $1,000 a month onto your payment. And VA has no mortgage insurance, has some of the most favorable rates in the industry, often some of the lowest rates. There is a VA funding fee that is required by VA. It ranges anywhere from the low end of 1.25% of the mortgage amount up to 3.3. Depends on if you're a first-time user or a subsequent user. Also depends on if you're putting a certain amount of money as a down payment or not. So all those things will be factored in when a loan officer is pre-qualifying you. From a performance perspective, VA loans are some of the best performing loans in the industry, especially at 100% down. Their default ratio is very low, and I suspect that is mainly due to the veterans themselves, the service members. They're just a better quality person that finds it important to make their payments and work hard and do what's necessary. Not to say that sometimes loans do get or homes get foreclosed upon, but from a from a perspective of the numbers, VA loans are some of the best, like I say. Another reason I'm a big fan of VA loans is although I'm not a veteran, my father served in World War II. He actually was in Germany. He has a Purple Heart. He got hit in the Hurricane Forest, caught some shrapnel that kind of shredded up his hand and his arm a little bit. But I have a lot of respect for veterans because of who my father was and my appreciation of what people who serve our country do for us. I'd like to share some examples of the power of the VA loan. Two particular examples where a few years back, a colleague of mine actually received a call. It was a veteran calling in. He didn't know he was a veteran when he called in, but this gentleman was looking to buy a home. I'm in Northern California. This was Alamo in California, which is a high-end marketplace. The man was in contract to buy his dream home. He had been working with a mortgage broker who had really taken his package and shopped it with multiple investors. Unfortunately, his credit wasn't the best. It was in the mid 600 range. And that was precluding him from being able to be approved under the jumbo arena. And the broker was submitting the loan with 25% down and a relatively high interest rate at the time. And so my colleague was listening, hearing this thing. He was on the verge of potentially losing this home he was in contract on. And my colleague was smart enough to ask, "Are you a veteran?" And he said, "Yes, I am." And so he actually took that loan in. It only required, this was pre-2020, so he did have to put a down payment on. The home was about $1.2 million purchase price. He had to put 10% down, but the rate he was able to offer him was about 1.5 points better in rate than the jumbo rates that he was being quoted by the broker, and was able to approve them also and close in 2 weeks. The broker at the time would have shopped till the end of the year. There wasn't that type of financing available in the jumbo world. And so my colleague was smart enough to recognize that and knew, if he was a veteran, this was a loan that we could get done. I also recently had a client that we closed on a purchase transaction. It was $1.5 million. My client had very good income stream, but he did not want to, liquidate a certain amount of assets that would have gone along with a jumbo loan. He wanted to do 100% financing. He had the income stream to do 100% financing. So we were able to do $1.5 million loan amount. His earnest money deposit, an earnest money deposit is something that when you're purchasing a home, they're going to ask you to deposit a certain percentage of the purchase price into an escrow account, and that's held as good faith, okay? And so my client had a $15,000 earnest money deposit that he put into escrow. We did a $1.5 million purchase price and loan amount, and at closing, he actually got about $427 as a refund. So he got into a $1.5 million property with less than $15,000 out of pocket. That's the power of a VA loan. Now, the $15,000 was kind of light in many instances, and the reason was in California, the timing of when property taxes are due, he only had to bring in 1 month of taxes. Had it been later in the year, it might have been 7, 8, 9 months of taxes. So that could have easily been $10,000 just in property taxes. So $15,000 is definitely very light when you're purchasing a $1.5 million property. It just had to do with the timing of everything. The big takeaways I'd like you to take with you from this video is the benefits of a VA loan. 100% financing, no mortgage insurance. And mortgage insurance, again, is something that many lenders charge on conventional loans, sometimes jumbo loans. And those dollars can add up. It's a premium that you pay, but it doesn't cover you. It guards the lender against default. So VA does not require that, which is wonderful. There's flexibility in the guidelines. You don't have to have the best credit Debt to income ratio wise, you can go extremely high. I mean, I've seen loans approved in the 60+% range. Now, we're not necessarily making that recommendation unless there's some compensating factors where maybe one is self-employed as a veteran and taking advantage of the tax laws, and they feel comfortable with that payment, even though their debt to income ratio is at 60%. They know they can make that payment. And if somebody was salaried at a 60 DTI, I'd question whether that was a good decision on their part, unless there's some income stream that we just couldn't take into consideration for qualifying purposes, but they knew that they could get on a regular basis. So that would be maybe an acceptable format. But at the end of the day, you as a veteran make that decision. We just share the information and what is possible. So kind of the takeaway is I'm a big fan of VA loans because there's a lot of flexibility in the loan itself to help you qualify. And then you as the veteran make the decision whether it's in your best interest or not. Take one step further and get pre-approved. I would recommend you get with a veteran loan officer, no pun intended, but a loan officer that understands VA financing. Not all of understand the nuances of it, because and I would kind of encourage you stay away from some of these call center environments, the big banks, credit unions. I often see a lot of those are really unseasoned loan officers. They don't always understand what they're doing, and as a loan officer in the mortgage banking world, I have clients come to me who have been denied by other lenders. And when we're able to, really understand the guidelines and structure things properly to get one approved, it's not only a good feeling, but it helps that veteran because, I hate to say it, sometimes people get denied and they walk away and then they don't buy a home. And it almost feels like malpractice to me because there's a lot of clients that I've helped over the years that are in homes that were getting denied by another lender. And had they just taken that denial, it really greatly affects their net worth. Because I don't know if you know, but renters versus homeowners. Homeowners are about 40 times higher in net worth than one is who is renting. To give you an example, the client who I first talked about that was almost going to lose his home at a $1.2 million purchase price, today that home is close to $2.5 million home. What if he, kind of walked away from it, looked at it and said, I can't buy a home right now? That's a $1.3 million delta in his net worth. And that would have been a real shame had he not been able to close on that property. If you'd like more information, you can find my information in the description below. My team and I were licensed in about 40 states. Be happy to answer any questions you might have, help you in any way we can. If you like the content that I provided today, I sure would appreciate it if you wouldn't mind liking and sharing the information and subscribing. And lastly, I'd like to thank you for watching till the end and sure appreciate everything you have done as a veteran in serving our country.